Welcome everybody. I'm Holly and this is Abigail, and
Hi, everyone.
we're from the cooking family, and we're just so glad you're here. We're about to do a live demonstration of one of our favorite foods, and you know we always have so many favorites, but this one is one that my family has always had as a traditional New Year's meal, and since it's New Year's Eve, we thought we'd share that with you guys and how to make it in the Instant Pot.
Yep.
So we wanted to give you a little update, a couple of updates. It's been a few months since we've been on here, and our baby is growing, and we're doing about 4.5 to 5 weeks with the baby girl, and we're super excited about that. And also in the time since we saw you all, my mom was diagnosed with lung cancer, and it was very advanced, and I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with her before she passed away right after Thanksgiving. So that's been a challenging time for us, but thanks to cooking meals like this, I know that I just have a lot of memories with my mom cooking in the kitchen, and that links me together with her. It offers opportunity to grieve, which of course is that mixed thing, but I'm just so thankful for all the wonderful memories I had with my mom, and I think of her a lot when I'm in the kitchen. So, and you want to give a little farm update?
Sure. So our garden is doing great. We have we have broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and we have lots of lettuce. We have collards, turnips.
A lot of cruciferous veggies out there in the garden.
And we also have kale, and I said cabbage.
Yeah. I think
this is not one from our garden,
no,
but we're getting there.
We're new to this gardening thing and new to winter gardening. And in Texas, you have 2 seasons because our winters are so mild. So next year, we're going to jump on planting seeds for cabbage, because the cabbage plants were almost as much as it is in the grocery store, and it was just kind of like, eh. But they're also not mature yet. They're like itty bitty tiny
they
little
are
cabbages.
forming, but they're tiny.
We've eaten a couple broccolis and a lot of collard greens.
Yes.
Collard greens are another New Year's meal or dish that people have for good luck or blessings on a prosperous new year. And we actually have a recipe for collard greens and a video coming out on our website for collard greens and black-eyed peas. So go check that out. And
our chickens.
Yeah, chickens.
Okay, so our chickens, we've been getting 12 to 15 eggs a day, and we're hoping that they will start going up because we need more eggs. But they're doing great, and our cow is giving 2.5 gallons of milk now, and our calf is big and almost the size of
She's so sweet. She's 6 months old. Ginger Snap is, and it is so fun to just watch her frolic across the yard. She's just so playful. So fun. So are you ready to get started?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Bavarian cabbage with smoked sausage and apples, and it was brought. This is a family recipe that my grandmother made and my mom and dad made, and my grandmother learned it from her mother, and I'm sure many generations have been making this. It's very simple. It has very few ingredients, so that's what makes it easy and delicious.
Yeah.
So it has cabbage, and you can use green cabbage or red cabbage, purple cabbage. And a lot of people don't love cabbage, but I would encourage you to try this. Cabbage is really one of my favorite vegetables. It's actually very budget friendly for families. It's low carb and it's nutritious, and our family just loves it. You do want to take caution though, because I think a lot of people don't enjoy it if it's overcooked. And so that's the main that's, I think, the main reason people think that they don't like cabbage. But anyway, we love it around here. And then an onion, a couple of apples. That adds sweetness to this dish. And Abigail's going to show us how to chop up that onion. Don't forget the butter. I'm going to put the butter in the Instant Pot. I've already got it heating on saute. And I'm going to put this in here. It's going to sizzle really nicely. And we do 1 stick of butter for 1 head of cabbage. 1 head of cabbage will feed most families. Our family is a large family, so we've had to switch to 2 heads of cabbage now since there's so many of us and we all love this so much.
Yes.
And the leftovers, if there's a precious little serving of leftovers, they're coveted.
Okay, so I'm going to chop our onion. We have a purple red onion. I don't know what you like to call it. So an onion has 2 ends. We have a stem end and a root end. And you see this root end has a bunch of hairy stuff on the bottom. So I like to pinch those off. You can also cut them off if you want. And so then what I'm going to do next is take this stem end and I'm going to just cut it off just like that. And that creates a flat surface for me here so I can set this down and it doesn't wobble around. So next what I'm going to do is cut it right down the middle, starting at the root end going down to the stem end. And we're going to, if your peel does not come off very easily or it looks bad, just go on to the next layer.
You don't want any of that papery onion in there in your food. It's just unappealing and hard. You can't really eat it.
Unappealing.
Okay,
so next what we're going to do is cut some rays
slices that are like the
of
rays of
onion.
the sun.
Yes, like the rays of the sun, all along here.
So she's going diagonal down toward the center of the onion.
Yes.
But she's not cutting all the way through the root. She's keeping that root intact so it holds everything together and your onion's not falling apart.
So next I'm going to go along the opposite direction that I just did the diagonal lines, all the way down to where my cuts end, and I'm going to put that in the trash bowl.
So we like to use our onion cuttings and these extra pieces in our to make chicken broth. And we just take these pieces and throw them in a Ziploc bag that's labeled veggies for broth. And then we have that in the freezer at all times. And when it's time to make a batch of broth, we just throw that in our Instant Pot with our chicken bones. And we have the veggies already ready, and it makes a really quick and easy and practically free chicken broth. And you can find that recipe on our website at thecookingfamily.com as well. And we show you exactly how we make it. And it's super simple, really nutritious, and makes all kinds of soups delicious. And we also sometimes just drink it, right?
Right. So I just did the exact same thing with the other half, and now we're going to add it to our bowl for our ready stuff to put in. Okay. And then we'll add it once the butter is melted.
Yeah, the butter is nice and melted, and it actually browned and caramelized a little bit. So that's going to give us a lot of flavor in our cabbage. I may have let it go just a little bit too long. Hopefully it'll just be wonderfully caramelly. And I'm also going to add just a touch of salt, about a 1/4 teaspoon. We like to layer in the salt just a little bit at a time as we add ingredients. So
it's like 1/4 teaspoon every time you add something.
That's right.
I mean, sort of.
So now the apples. Abigail's going to dice up these apples, and they add so much delicious sweetness to this dish.
Okay, so we have 2 apples here, and so I'm going to show you how to dice them. So I'm going to take this, and there's also the stem end and then the bottom. And so on the stem end, you're just going to go right down through the middle. And then you're going to put it down flat side down and cut it in half the next direction, and then you're just going to keep doing that with each piece, going very carefully. And then you're going to cut off this seedy part,
the core.
The core, and put it in your trash bowl. And you'll do that with all of your pieces.
No, we don't usually put the apples in our broth bag, but the chickens love the apples, especially if you take the seeds out.
Yes. So, next, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these and cut them. Should we cut them in half another way? Or is it?
No, I think that's great.
Awesome. So you're just going to go put them all horizontal and cut them the opposite direction.
And you would just want to make sure that your food is secure and it's not wobbling around while you're trying to cut it. So if it is, just take a piece out, be patient, and you don't want that food to be wobbling around on you.
So then you have these nice dices to put in your food.
Well done.
Thank you.
So Abigail's going to finish dicing up that apple, and I'm going to show you how to attack a head of cabbage. Okay, so cabbage, don't be intimidated by cabbage. It's actually really easy to deal with. You do want a big knife and a sharp knife. This actually is my favorite knife that I've ever owned, and it's a Shun. I would highly recommend, if you're going to invest in a great kitchen tool, invest in a great knife. It just makes everything so much easier in your kitchen, and it is worth it because you need to be able to safely handle the tasks in your kitchen. So this is a very large head of cabbage, and right here is the core of the cabbage. And so what we're going to do is set it down on the core because it's the most stable, and then I'm going to cut this in half. And you can see how this knife really handles that well and is so much safer to use a sharp knife and not have a wrestling match with your food that can hurt you. And then I'm going to cut this in half, so now I have quarters. And then see this core, now we're going to cut that out. We're just going to cut diagonally along there, and then this is out of here and ready for the chickens. They're going to love that. And so then I'm going to cut this other middle core out, and then the other two pieces. And cabbage actually cooks down a lot. So while right now it seems like this is going to be a huge amount, and it is going to be a good size amount of food, but this is going to cook down, so you want to make sure that you have plenty, and then it's going to settle into your Instant Pot. Okay, so for this dish, we like to do small dices, and so I'm going to start by slicing each quarter, and then I'll turn the slices perpendicular and make them into dices. And I'm going to, when you're using a knife, you should grip the knife blade. And you should, with your food holding hand, you should curl your fingers so that they're not sticking out there ready to get cut. We don't like any injuries in the kitchen, and we try to avoid them as much as possible, of course. Okay, and so I'm going to set this aside. And we actually need to put these apples in. So we saute the onion, saute the apples, and the apples don't have to cook too long. They just need to saute down just a little bit to add their delicious sweetness. And then when we pressure cook this, they're going to cook down a little bit more and add lots of flavor. Yeah, so right now it's on low. My saute got a little too hot, and then I adjusted. So I'm going to cancel. I'm going to press saute again. This is one of the great things about the Instant Pot. It's automatically sets for 30 minutes. It's not going to take us that long, but we'll cancel that later. And now we'll change it to sauteing it high. because my sizzling kind of stopped
Yeah.
when I took it down to low. So this apple's going to be cooking in here while we finish chopping up the cabbage. You can use any kind of apples in this. These ones are Gala apples. They're just what we had. So use your favorite apples. I think only if I've been in a pinch and wanted to make this and only had Granny Smith, we've probably used Granny Smith. They're a little bit tart, so you want to use whatever favorite apple that you have on hand is going to be great.
Okay, so while she's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and do the sausage. If
Okay.
that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so for our sausage, we're going to do dices. And so the way you do dices, you don't want to cut like when it's in a circle. So you cut it in half, your link in half, and then you go down the middle, being very careful to keep your fingers back. And you're just going to go straight down the middle, making sure you're cutting through the skin at the bottom. And then we're going to turn it and go the other way. So it's going to make little triangles when we cut.
Now, the traditional way to cut the sausage, or at least the way that my parents did growing up, was to just have it in just chunks. So they would cut us maybe 2 or 3 inch chunks of sausage. But when I was a mom with a lot of young kids, then I still had to cut up their sausage at the table. And so I decided it was going to be much easier for me to cut it up in the cooking process on a cutting board with a nice sharp knife. And so I started cutting it this way. It's not a choking hazard because those pieces are smaller, as opposed to making coin slices. And I also don't have to cut it up at the table, so it makes it much simpler once we serve this up, especially with small children. So you can cut it however you like, but this is the way that I found works great. Plus, you get more bites of smoked sausage.
Right.
So we all love that.
So you're just going to do the same with the other half. And then once you've got it all in quarters, then you go along it like this. And there you have your dices.
Awesome. So I mentioned that one of the reasons a lot of people don't enjoy cabbage is if they've had it overcooked. And the way we're going to mitigate that in the Instant Pot, you can probably easily overcook it in pressure cooking situation. So we're going to set our Instant Pot. This one is the Evo, and it won't go to 0 minutes. So on a Duo or a Luxe or some models, you can set it for 0 minutes, and then it will come up to pressure, and then it will immediately beep, and then we will immediately release it. On the Evo, we'll do 1 minute. And then your cabbage should be cooked perfectly and not overdone.
And on the Evo, it comes up to pressure faster, so you don't really need to do 0 minutes.
Yes, Abigail, that's a great point. It comes up to pressure faster, and the time it takes to come up to pressure and the time it takes to release pressure are all part of your cooking time. Your food is heating up and cooking all throughout all that time. Okay, I'm going to give this a stir, and then we can put the sausage right on top. Oh, I wanted just a little bit more salt.
So you see the cabbage almost fills up your Instant Pot to the PC Max, but there's a lot of air in it, so it will go down, and you already said that.
That's right.
I thought it would
Well, I didn't talk about the volume, so you're absolutely right.
So we're going to add the sausage.
Okay, give that a little stir in. And don't forget a little fresh cracked black pepper. That's going to add a lot of flavor. I love that. And now we're going to add 1 cup, just 1 cup of water, because you always need about a cup to maybe a cup and a half if you have an 8-quart Instant Pot. You always need some water in order to come up to pressure. Okay. So this machine is an Evo, and I'm going to show you how to set it. It's a great machine. We're going to set it on pressure cook. We're going to do custom. We're just going to go ahead and select custom, and we're going to turn the dial to change our time down to 1 minute, like I said. Oh, no, because it was switched to 8 hours. So we're just going to do 1 minute on on low pressure. So we're going to select 1, and we're going to change it to low pressure. And that's also going to help prevent our cabbage from being overdone. Like I said, nobody likes overdone cabbage. But this is a great way of cooking cabbage in your Instant Pot. And now this is going to come up to pressure, and it's going to cook under pressure for just 1 minute, and then we're going to immediately quick release it at the end.
Yes.
Okay. So next we're going to show you what we like to serve with this. It's a great meal on its own, but if you need to just bulk it up a little bit, we like to serve it with mashed potatoes. And mashed potatoes are the perfect food to cook in the Instant Pot.
Yes. And we can show you how.
Yes. I'm going to clean up this cabbage here. And normally our family cooks about 5 pounds of potatoes. We don't eat necessarily all that at once, but this is a little bit less. These are red potatoes. My mom, I remember when my mom stopped peeling potatoes. I don't know, she was a busy mom, and I think she read somewhere that the skins of the potatoes are very nutritious, and one day she was like, I'm not peeling the potatoes anymore. And so she would just cook them with the skins on and then mash them like that, and it made her life a lot easier, and we learned to really enjoy those skins. And especially with red potatoes, their skins are a lot thinner than like a russet.
Yeah.
And so we leave the skins right on here. It's so easy to make mashed potatoes, and we check them for bad spots and cut off any bad spots that we find.
And wash them.
And wash them. These have already been washed. So here's like a little bad spot that you'd want to cut off. Just a couple little imperfections, but mostly they look great. And there's another bad spot. A good paring knife is another thing to invest in your kitchen. Someone asked if you can use chicken stock instead of water in your cabbage, and you absolutely could. We are used to the flavor of just using water, and so I think it would change the flavor just a tiny bit, but it would add some depth to it too. So go ahead and try it. I'm sure it will be great. So with your potatoes, we don't even have to chop them up or anything. We just put them in the Instant Pot, drop them in, no trivet.
Because you don't want to pull that out right as you're going to mash them when the Instant Pot is hot and burn your hands.
Right, so we're going to mash these right directly in the Instant Pot. This is another place you could use chicken broth, and I think that would be a great addition. And I'm just using water here, and I'm using about a cup of water. And this one is a 6-quart Instant Pot. And we're going to set it. So I'm going to press pressure cook, and I'm going to adjust the time. Go back up to where it's blinking and select the time, and then I'm going to change the time to about 12 minutes. So potatoes, and I'm going to press start. About potatoes, cooking them in the Instant Pot. They have a range of time of about 10 minutes if you're using whole potatoes, 10 to 15 minutes. And that's just basically a scale for how big they are. They take less time to cook if they're smaller and more time to cook if they're larger. So I would use 15 minutes on, those giant baking potatoes that can feed 2 or 3 people. I would do probably 15 minutes on a big one like that and 10 minutes on a smaller, like a new potato. And so just choose a range. So these ones were a little bit less than the middle, so we did 12 minutes. Also, if you, potatoes do great if you need to put them on early and just let them continue to naturally release for a long time. They're fantastic. They're even softer. So take that into account. If you had, like if I had needed them really quick, I would probably, but these I don't need really quick, so I'm just at 12 minutes. If I need them really quick, I might give them an extra minute or two of pressure cooking time since I know I'm going to quick release them immediately. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. So we've had this other pot of potatoes that we did in advance so we could show you how we like to mash them.
Do you want me to bring it?
They've been, I think I'll release it back here and pull out the insert.
Released.
That's true. So it's been naturally releasing for 33 minutes. We didn't do anything. That's what natural release means. We just let it naturally come down in temperature and come down in pressure. And so I'm going to pull this lid off and let it drip into the pot. I need maybe a couple pot holders would be great. So we like to use just an old-fashioned potato masher. Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
And I'm going to shut this off, cancel, and pull this out of here. That's another great thing about the Evo is it has a handle, so you don't any longer need the hot pads. I'm going to pour, so like I was saying earlier, we normally do about 5 pounds of potatoes, and when we do that, we just leave the water, the cooking water in here, and it's fantastic, but since this is about half of that, we're going to pour off a little bit of this cooking liquid into our, I guess just into the trash bowl. I'm just going to get rid of a little bit of this, but we do want some of the liquid to stay, so we're not going to take all of it out. Someone asked if it will damage the inner element if you leave this insert in the Instant Pot to mash it. And in our experience, no. That's what we normally do is leave this right over in here and mash it up. I only took it out so I could bring it up front and center here. So watch how easy this is to just mash these up. It's just super simple. You just take your potato masher, mash them right down. They absorb that liquid, and that would be another good reason to use chicken broth or something with some more seasoning. But look, that liquid's basically gone now. I'm going to go ahead and add a teaspoon of salt. These little wooden scoops are 1/4 teaspoon. And there we are. So we did 4 of those. And then we're going to add some butter. This is close to a 1/2 stick. Not quite a 1/2 stick. These are the thicker Costco sticks, so they're a little bit thicker than a regular stick of butter. And then we're going to also add some milk. This is Cookie's milk.
Cookie's our cow.
Cookie is our cow. And she makes delicious milk. And of course, this is just the simplest you can do mashed potatoes. You can fancy them up. We like to put bacon and cheddar cheese, green onions, sour cream. If you want to do loaded baked or loaded mashed potatoes, those are fantastic.
I'm going to release this.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. She's releasing the cabbage so we don't let it sit and overdo. Okay, do we have a fork to do a little taste test? We want to make sure the mashed potatoes have plenty of salt, and if I should add some more milk or not. That is the question.
Thank you.
There you go. So, and these, like I said, these skins are thin, and so they're not at all unappealing. We really enjoy those getting a little extra fiber and it adds a lot of texture to your mashed potatoes. I think the salt's good.
Yeah.
Do we need to add a little more milk?
I think it's perfect.
Okay. Abigail says leave it. So what I love is the cabbage has so much flavor, and then the mashed potatoes are just a little bit more mild. So when we make this for the cabbage with smoked sausage and apples, I like to just leave the mashed potatoes very simple. And but if you make mashed potatoes for some other dish, that's when we like to do the loaded.
Yes.
And I believe we have a recipe for that on our website. So you can go find that and make it yourself.
You could also, if you like your mashed potatoes more smooth than this thing leaves a few lumps in it. If you like it more smooth, you can either get one of those hand mixers that you just hold and it mixes it up at the bottom, or you can put it in your KitchenAid mixer or Stan's mixer, and it makes it really creamy and delicious. I've done that once and I loved it.
Yeah.
So
just be careful not to over mix your potatoes because they can get kind of gummy if you overdo it. So, so we're going to set these aside until we make our plate. And you know what else that's great about the Instant Pot? So before the Instant Pot, we would often end up having kind of cold mashed potatoes because you get them all mashed, you put your milk in. I don't ever think to heat it up in advance. So by the time everything's ready, it's like, oh, the mashed potatoes are cold. But you can place this right back in your Instant Pot and put it on keep warm, and it will keep them warm, perfectly moist for hours. So that's what we normally do nowadays. If you want to do mashed potatoes ahead of time and have them ready, and then it also makes it perfect to take to a place for a side dish, and they stay perfect in here.
Yep.
Okay, these ones are cooking. They just came up to pressure, and now we'll take the lid off the cabbage. That is perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to give this a stir. The sausage is cooked perfectly. Of course, it was already cooked. You can use any kind of kielbasa or smoked sausage, whatever your favorite kind is. This one is just a regular grocery store brand. I've used turkey sausage in it and had great success with that.
Do you have to do sausage, or could you do like ground beef or?
You know, there are some fabulous ground beef and cabbage recipes, but for this flavor, you definitely want sausage.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a great question, though. Chicken and apple sausage would be great in it.
Yes.
So here is our serving plate, and got my little cabbage spoon in here. We've made this with purple cabbage, and it's beautiful. It does make the apples and everything purple. So for this, we decided to just do it with the green cabbage so you can still see the apples. But the apples and the smoked sausage, everything just looks so colorful and beautiful. Okay. So there's a nice big portion. Since this is a veggie, it's mostly water, the cabbage is. I'm going to put a little pepper on. And I should do that with the potatoes. So we're going to get the mashed potatoes out of here again. And serve those up alongside. You want to go ahead and do that?
Sure. How much do we want?
Maybe just a little bit more than that.
Okay.
I guess I'm hungry.
I guess you are.
Always hungry when you're making a baby, huh? And there's a little something I don't want in there. Okay, I'm going to put a little pepper on the mashed potatoes. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. So now we're going to give this a little taste. Our little New Year's Bavarian cabbage with smoked sausage and apples. I'm going to try to get a bite that has a little apple and smoked sausage in it.
And cabbage.
And cabbage. And butter, of course. Yes. Ooh, it's hot.
Yeah. That's why I blew on mine.
You're smart. Sometimes I forget. Glorious as always.
Delicious.
Yes, and we already tasted these mashed potatoes, but I'm ready for another little bite.
Definitely.
Another great thing about the potatoes with this is that it kind of soaks up any little liquid, buttery, flavory liquid that comes off your cabbage.
And more flavorful.
So delicious.
Yes.
So, well, that is how we make one of our favorite New Year's meals, and actually, we eat it all year round because it's so good. And like I said before, it's inexpensive, it goes together quick, and it's nutritious. So we eat this more than just on New Year's, but it is one of our traditional New Year's meals, and we love it. So we hope you'll go to our website and find this recipe. Also, we have a great recipe for black-eyed peas. If you're going to make black-eyed peas for New Year's, we have a video that actually, I'm a proud mom because the kids made this video, the teenagers, of collard greens and black-eyed peas and cornbread. And those are going to be on our page in the next 24 hours.
The black-eyed pea recipe is already there, but the collards and cornbread will be up in the next 24 hours. So
awesome. So this year, I've seen a lot of people talking about eating their black-eyed peas and eating plenty of them for a better 2021. And we know that we have just had a blessed year, 2020, even though it's been a challenge. Everything that's a challenge makes us stronger, right? So it builds character and it helps us rely on the Lord more. And so we know that 2021 is going to be a great year. But if you're wanting to eat all these foods for encouraging health and prosperity in the new year, we've got several recipes for you to try. Another one that I love with with black-eyed peas is Hoppin' John. Fantastic. So you can eat New Year's recipes all week long. It'll be fantastic.
All year long.
And
we'll
all year
long.
That's right.
They're too good to just have once a year.
I agree. We want you to remember that you and your family can cook and enjoy great meals together, and we hope you'll do that. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.